Good Tevach, everybody. Want to share with you Divrei Torah that our Rav in White Lake shared with us over Shabbos. Um, in the Sedra, parshas emor, talks about how the Kohanim are generally not allowed to become Tomei. The priests in the Jewish tradition are generally not allowed to become defiled, specifically with contact with the dead. However, when it comes to their direct relatives, parents, wife, God forbid, children, a brother, a sister, in certain situations, etc., the Kohen is allowed to become Tomei. He's allowed to be defiled. The priest may be defiled by going to those funerals. The question is, does he have to be? So Gemara in Zvachim Daf Chof tells us, the Talmud tells us, the tractate about sacrifices, page 20, that indeed there's a story of Rabbi Yossi Kohen, a certain priest named Joseph. His wife passed away, and he didn't want to defile himself. In his whole life, he'd never been to a cemetery. He didn't want to break this record that he had. And the point that and the Gemara says no, they forced him to do it. So the point that Rabbi Fishbein, that our Rav Shlita brought out from this story, from this halacha, and he told another story about there was a boy who was on his way to his friend's wedding, and there was traffic, and he said, you know what? I never missed davening mincha in my life with a minyan. Let me take a detour to go daven for the minyan, and so I'll be late for the wedding. It's not a big deal. And he called his rabbi, the Shiva, as Adam Gadol, a distinguished rabbi, and he asked him if that's the proper thing to do. He said, no. He said, Judaism's not about making records. This isn't the Guinness Book of World Records. You're doing something like this that you think you're so religious, you're really just being arrogant. Sure, it's good to daven with a minyan when you can, to pray with in the synagogue with the quorum. Sometimes you can't, and something like this, you have your best friend is getting married and he's looking forward, and you're going to miss his chuppah so you could daven with a minyan? No, you daven by yourself, and you get here. You'll still get here before sundown. You can daven by yourself, and maybe there'll still be a minyan here too. But you get here. Don't none of this nonsense about, oh, you want to break it. You don't want to have a record. You don't want to break your record. And it's the same thing with the family, with friends, with that. That's what's more important. Of course, you can't do a sin, but this was not a case like that. It's not a sin to pray by yourself. And certain things are more important. And so too here, with the case of the Talmud tells us about this priest who didn't want to be defiled. The Torah specifically says it's not a sin to be defiled. Don't be making things about the way you think it is, because that's often arrogance. Just follow the Torah, and that's good enough. And the main point, what's more important, is your relationships, your family, your friends, things like that. And not this arrogance of being holier than thou, which is avodah zarah. The term holier than thou, Kodesh Mimecha, is talking about avodah zarah. It's talking about idolatry, and that's the point. And this is what another one of my teachers, who I only really met once, but I've learned a lot from him over the decades, actually, Rabbi Ariel Bar Tzadok. He always says, religion is more about man than it is about God, and that's how God wants it. And that's the point that we have here from this lesson, that we have to be concerned with these types of things first. How to interact with people in the proper way, as opposed to being holier than thou. Yes, you have to follow halacha. Yes, you have to keep Shabbos, keep kosher, all these things. But within that rubric, when you're faced with something like this, meaning a good reason, like my Zayde, Zechron Levracha, he went to Minyan every day, and the main reason he went to Minyan every day was he said like this. He said, he didn't always go to Minyan every day, and then when his father passed away, he started to go to Minyan every day, so he could say Kaddish. So then he realized, they were there for me. When I had to say Kaddish, I have to be there for them when someone else has to say Kaddish. And he felt it's his achrayas, it's his responsibility. If there's not a minyan, if there's 9 and he wasn't there, it's his responsibility. So it wasn't about he went to minyan to help the other people. It wasn't about being holier than thou. It wasn't about even really so much. Of course, he believed in God and he was serving God, but he understood that what God wants us to do is to interact with other human beings, have good relationships, be kind and charitable to other people, and that's the way he lived his life, my Zayde. And that's a healthy way to approach things. I sometimes, I'm traveling, and I could daven with a minyan, but then that means, I'm going to be away from my family longer. It's going to be tough for my wife. Am I going to make my wife wait in the car? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You have to know when, where, what. It depends on many situations. And I myself, I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I get angry about religious things, and it's not right. And I have to do tshuva for that. And these are the types of things we all have to work on. The truth of the matter is, though, the Rambam talks about this, that you have, if you want to be, you have a tree that's like, it's a young tree and it's tilting to the left. You want it to grow up straight, you tilt it to the right, and then naturally it'll go up straight. But if you just make it straight, it'll still be tilting to the left. So the same thing here. There's certain seasons in your life where you have to, like what they say, the parlance is someone, he flips out, You have to be very religiously devoted. And that means that, because then when, the way that they told us in yeshiva is like this, the example is like this, you're not obligated, let's say, to go to the mikveh Friday, a man. But let's say you're going to go to mikveh every Friday, and for a while you're going to do that. And then you get to a certain point in your life, you can't do that anymore. You got to give something up. So you give up going to mikveh on Friday. It's not a big loss because you're not obligated to do it. Or you try to go to minyan. You can go. You have the ability to go to minyan every day, and you do it. And then at a certain point you can't. So, but at least you're still davening every day. But like if all you do is like the bare minimum, that you daven, you punch tefillin, and then you give up something, you're going to give up something that's actually important, and you won't be like going straight up. You're going to be tilting on the wrong side. So it's better to overcompensate for a certain time, but then you find the balance. So by me, I still Linetta, I try, unless very extenuating circumstances, to go on mikveh Friday. But for a while you would go every day. And now sometimes I go every day, sometimes I don't, but most of the time, most of the year, it's not really feasible for me. So that's the type of thing. I don't go every day to the mikveh, but I still go out of my way to try to go Friday. That type of thing. But I more or less gave up going every day, because it's too difficult. I don't, there's not a mikveh in my neighborhood that's open all year round. Now there's a mikveh open, so I even during the week it's cold, but I go if I can, if I have time. Sometimes I skip it. That type of thing. So this is what I mean, to find that balance. Part of it is sometimes you give up something that's extra, devotion, but you're still keeping a lot of good stuff, as opposed to if you're only doing the bare minimum, you're going to lose out. So you have to find that balance, but the balance has to be within living in the world, having proper relationships, being good with your spouse, your children, your parents, your brothers and sisters, your friends, your teachers, to find that balance, to understand what God really wants from us more than the religious devotions is the interpersonal devotions, because that, like we said, that religion is more about human beings than it's about God, and that's how God wants it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.